Tonight's Committee of Adjustment hearing is being held by video conference and live stream video on the town's live stream webpage at oakville.ca. This is a hearing to consider applications for minor variance and consent held under the authority of the Planning Act. Please keep in mind that the intent of this process is to review the application that is before the committee, listen to the evidence, and then make a decision. This process is not intended to be used to resolve any concerns or disputes that may exist between the town, individuals, or organizations. If a request for a deferral is made and the committee grants such a request, the applicant or authorized agent must contact the Secretary Treasurer to schedule a new hearing date. In order to conduct the effective and efficient electronic hearing, we have developed the following process. If you are watching the live stream of this hearing on oakville.ca, and if you wish to speak to an item on the agenda, you can call 905-815-6095. Again, that is 905-815-6095. The phone number is also posted on the screen below the live stream page at oakville.ca. Staff will be standing by to take your call. When you call in, staff will ask for your name and item that you wish to address, and telephone number, and further instructions will be provided to join the video conference. When the chair of the committee is polls for interested parties, you'll have to press *6 to unmute yourself. The applicant and agent will then be given the opportunity to briefly explain to the committee the basis of their application, answer any questions that may arise. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided for this presentation. You will need to state your full name and address for the record. Any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the committee. All delegations must also state their full name and address for the record. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided for the presentation, and remarks will be, questions will be directed to the chair. Any submissions beyond those 5 minutes will be also at the discretion of the committee. The applicant and agent will then be provided with a further 5 minutes to respond to any comments made by interested parties, answer any questions from the committee members. And if the applicant or agent has any concerns, particularly in staff reports with the conditions that are proposed, this will be the opportunity to advise us. The matter will then be taken into committee for a decision, and this will mark the end of all discussions. Any person desiring a notice of decision for an application must provide a written request, preferably through email, to the Secretary Treasurer. Written notice of the committee's decision will be mailed no later than 10 days in minor variances and 15 days for consent applications to the applicant, agent, and any other person who has filed a written request for such notice. The last day of appeal will be listed on the decision. Only the applicant, specified persons, or public bodies may appeal to the committee's decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal. In November of 2022, Bill 23 legislation, the More Homes Built Faster Act, amended the Planning Act to remove appeal rights for members of the public. If no appeal is received within the prescribed time frame, the decision of the committee becomes final and binding, and the Secretary Treasurer will then notify the applicant and anyone who has received a copy of the decision through written correspondence. People participating in this hearing are to be courteous to and respectful of the members of the committee, town staff, and any other person participating in this electronic hearing. Tonight's electronic hearing is being video recorded and available for future viewing at oakville.ca. Thank you. I have no regrets for this evening, and I'll now take any declarations of pecuniary interests. Miss Yu, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah, I want to make a declaration of the potential conflict of interest on the file CAV /055/2024 on 1126 Westerville Tourist files.
Very well, it's noted. Thank you. At this time, are there any others? Okay, I see none. At this time, I'll take requests for deferrals or withdrawals of applications. if you are interested in withdrawing or deferring your application for purposes of speaking to the town or any other reasons, please raise your hand and the Secretary Treasurer will invite you to the panel. Mr. Doe, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Joe Dome, 133 Torresdale Avenue, agent for the owners of 2042 Salvatore Boulevard.
That's CAV 056 of 2024.
Yes. In light of planning and development engineering comments, the owners would request a deferral of the application in order to improve the proposal.
Okay, very well. Members, all those in support of a deferral? Okay, application has been deferred. You'll see the Secretary Treasurer at your earliest convenience.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. Anyone else, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
Yes, I've just moved Curtis Van Keulen into the meeting.
Okay, very well. Mr. Van Keulen, go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Curtis Van Keulen, representing CAV 019-2024, requesting deferral in light of staff's comments on the bill form.
Okay. Members, I'm in your hands. All those in support of a deferral? Okay, your application has been deferred. You'll see the Secretary Treasurer at your earliest convenience.
Yes, thank you so much. Good evening.
Thank you. Anyone else, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
I see no one at this time.
Okay. Okay, we will start with application CAV 054 of 2024 at 874 Sinclair Road. Again, that's CAV 054 of 2024 at 874 Sinclair Road. I have Sam Nolte as the agent for the applicant.
Okay, I've moved the agent into the meeting.
Very well, thank you.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
We would just request that we are able to start parking the food truck on the property for public use. I understand this is an issue was with the bylaw that we are unable to. This is an industrial property, but we are serving in that zone.
Okay. Are there any questions of the applicant? Is that all?
Should I tell you what the case is?
Yes, this is your
Yes.
5 minutes. You have a presentation time, so the committee is waiting for your
Okay,
explanation of the application.
Okay. So we are licensed and our permit operates as a food truck anywhere in Oakville and within for any events and catering for the food truck. Right now we operate in an area where lots of businesses, and we try to stay in one spot for half of the week, business days, so Monday to Friday. City bylaw didn't allow us according to code, and they said that we would apply for a committee of adjustment, and they would allow us to operate for 4 days a week. So, 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, at that location.
Okay. Are Are there any questions of the applicant, items of clarification? Go ahead, Mr. Dickey. You have to unmute yourself. Okay. While you do that.
Oh, I got it now. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. To the agent. So this is a food truck. You indicate that you move it on the weekends and you take it to other events on the weekend. Is that what?
Yes, so usually usually our events run for 3 days a week. And within the business days, we serve the local businesses such as the car dealerships and mechanics. But it's kind of hard to keep going every day on the move. The permit doesn't allow us to stand for more than 3 days in one location, and that's why we're applying for the permit.
It's not a permanent structure.
Sorry. Yeah, it's not a permanent. The truck is always on the move.
On the move.
It's just
The existing picnic tables where they are now, is that where they're going to kind of like stay there? The food truck's just going to move up closer to the road as opposed to where it was the other day in the parking lot near the building? That's your black food truck.
That's correct. It's a black food truck.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If the applicant could advise if they've had an opportunity to speak with Halton Region. I understand that Halton Region had expressed some concerns with respect to the location of the truck and patio area relative to servicing easements that they have on the lands. I was wondering if he had a chance to speak with them and what if anything that came from that conversation.
Yes. Yes. So we spoke to the Halton Health and the health inspector, and on that terms we came to a conclusion that they had 3 main concerns that they came for, and they dismissed all 3 due to insignificant. Like they did an inspection for all 3 cases that they came for, and they were all neglected because they were all false. So they gave us back the okay to open, and we just told them that we are on hold now until the committee of adjustments allow us to operate. Once the approval goes, then we will go back into operation.
Sir, I was making a specific reference to comments that were provided from Halton Region with respect to infrastructure easements. So my reading of the comments that are provided here indicate that there's regional infrastructure located below grade where your truck is proposed to be parked, and that they had expressed some concerns and had some questions that they needed answered. That's outlined in the staff report that was released last week. Have you had a chance to read and review those comments that were provided?
I have not. I did not receive those comments or questions. Is there any way they can be sent over?
Yeah, they were sent to you on Thursday, and the entire report had plannings, the region, it had all the comments received. It was sent to you on Friday.
Can we request a deferral so we can go through the questions and have an answer for you?
Okay. So the applicant is now asking for a deferral. Ms. Buckerfield, if I may ask, town is not in support of this, but given the explanation that the applicant has made, do you have further questions, or are the questions that Mr. Hardcastle is directing to the applicant strictly to do with the region versus the town?
So there's two easements on the property. There's a regional easement where they require certain information and in writing they need to express that they can have something like this on the property. And then the other piece is that there is a town easement, and we did want to understand more about how often is he at the property, for how long, is he moving his truck at night or not? So from a town perspective, I would support a deferral in terms of him being able to to pursue information with the region. But I leave it in your hands as the committee to make that decision.
Okay, very well. So, in light of the applicant's, it's his first time in front of us, and there are certain things that he's unsure of. The request before us is to defer. I know it's orthodox for us to listen to an application and then have a deferral, but I would suggest that we do offer him that opportunity. I will have to say this though, there are applications before us that are not seeing support from the town, and while they're welcome to be heard, we can't go through each application and then decide to have a deferral at the middle or very end. So for all those who are listening, I would respectfully ask that you make sure before your turns come that you have indeed read and are aware of everything that needs to be in order for your presentation to go forth, so that the committee can make a decision about the application versus requesting a deferral. Committee, I'm in your hands. The applicant has requested a deferral. All those in support of a deferral? Okay. Then, Mr. Sam,
Can I just, sorry, I just want to make
Go
sure
ahead.
he's aware there's a deferral fee that will be
Yes,
applicable.
sorry, I neglected to say that.
I just sent him what was sent to him on Friday. I just forwarded it to him again. So he should have all the
Mr. Nolte,
comments.
can you confirm that you indeed did receive the town's email this time around? Hello, Sam?
Yeah, 1 second. I'm just trying to open it.
Okay.
Okay, now I receive it.
Very well. So you're aware that there is a deferral fee that you will have to pay in order for this deferral to go through. Madam Secretary, can you remind us again how much it is so that he knows?
Yes, just give me a minute.
I think it's over $600, $700. I can't remember
I believe
exactly.
it's eight and change, I believe.
Okay, so just for you to have an idea that there is this deferral fee, and then you'll have to see the Secretary Treasurer at your earliest convenience, and she'll schedule you in the next available meeting. It may not be the one immediately after, but it will be where she can schedule you.
Okay.
All right. So all those, we've already taken a poll. The committee has supported your deferral. Your application has been deferred. Thank you.
Okay, I'll just be removing Miss Yu from the meeting, and I'll let you know when that's done.
Sure.
Okay, the member's been removed from the meeting.
Application CAB 055 of 2024 at 1126 Westview Terrace. Apologies. Again, it's CAB 055 of 2024 at 1126 Westview Terrace. I have a request to attend from a Mr. Herbert Martinez, and Mr. Barrett is the agent for this application.
Mr. Barrett's been moved into the meeting.
Very well. Go ahead, Mr. Barrett.
Good evening, committee members, Madam Chair. Graham Barrett, SGL Planning and Design, 1547 Bloor Street West, Toronto, agent for the owner of 1126 Westview Terrace. We have someone on the call, and I have a staff report, so I'm assuming you'd like a presentation. So I had already submitted a full planning rationale for this small project, so that's up on screen now. Thank you very much. This is an application to permit construction of a one-story rear addition, this being a 3-season sunroom. This addition will be constructed on a very similar footprint to an existing deck. Go to the next page. See the deck highlighted. And only one minor variance for rear yard setback is required. 4.12 meters is proposed and 6 meters is required. There are no neighbors to the rear. This property is adjacent to a park. The planning rationale I submitted explains the proposal in some detail, and it provides an opinion in support. But seeing as we have a staff report recommending refusal, I will use my time to address some of their comments. So the staff report references OP policy and urban design guidelines. However, I respectfully disagree with the notion that this small one-story addition is incompatible with the surrounding neighborhood, nor do I think there are any significant impacts due to height, massing, shadow, overlook conditions, and so on. There's no windows or doors facing the adjacent property. There are no balconies, no second-story decks, nothing along those lines. It's a very small addition. It seems in the staff report their main issue is with the lack of an appropriate setback provided along the southerly interior side yard for the proposed addition. And in this case, that isn't a variance. Spoken with the zoning examiner, and he confirmed that the only variance required to permit construction of this addition is the rear yard setback. He said, and I quote, "There are no yards required for the internal lot lines for the party walls for each freehold unit. There is a 1.2 meter minimum interior side yard setback requirement in the zoning bylaw, but this only applies to the entirety of the block designated for townhouse dwellings, not individual townhouse units." Staff report also notes that a 0.6 meter setback would be required to a rear or interior side yard for accessory building, but this is not an accessory building, it's an addition, and again, there's no variance required for a 0 meter interior side yard setback. Staff report also notes that they do not observe any similar additions in the area, and I agree, based on my own site visit and my knowledge of the area. My folks used to live up the street, but perhaps this is just first. These are all fairly new homes, and maybe people haven't started building small additions on them yet. But still, their focus seems to remain on the 0 meter interior side yard setback, which again is not a variance. They've also raised concerns about access for construction, maintenance, or repairs. I've spoken with the designer, and all excavation, and this will be fully constructed on sonotubes, will be on the subject site. And the plan is to construct the south-facing wall, then tilt it up and secure it into place. So really, there will be no access needed from the neighboring property. And concerns about maintenance or repairs would be the same if this were, say, an existing fence, or if the addition were to be built as of right. Staff also had questions about that existing fence, and that's wholly on the subject property and not part of the application. But the plan is to replace the fence between the proposed addition and the rear lot line, again, entirely on the subject property. Concerns about drainage were also raised, but there will be an eaves trough that will direct water onto the subject property, and no stormwater or snowmelt or anything will be directed onto the adjacent property. If you can go to page 4, my rationale, please. I've illustrated the as-of-right footprint of a rear addition on the subject property at the top. You can see that in red. A 0 meter interior side yard setback is permitted. A 3 meter flankage yard is required. 6 meter rear yard setback is required. Structures such as this would require no variances. In the image below, I've also illustrated what's permitted as of right. An addition of this scale can be built with no variances. It could actually be built 3 meters taller, as the maximum height in this zone is 12 meters. So both of these would simply require a building permit application. This modest one-story rear addition is reasonable, has very little impact on neighbors, with none behind due to the park and others quite a distance away across the street. The one variance required is very minor in nature, represents a difference of about 6 feet on a one-story addition. I'm of the opinion that the proposal passes the 4 tests, and the impact of the proposed addition on the neighboring property to the south is quite minor and not much different than what would be permitted as a right. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. Questions, items of clarification. Go ahead, Mr. Talowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Barrett, it sounds like your argument is the zoning bylaw will already allow me to build an undesirable situation, so we should let you build this undesirable situation for which you need a variance. I'm struggling with your rationale. You're not asking to build what you can build as of right. You're asking for a variance. And in my mind, your variance is creating an undesirable situation. So I guess I'm not interested in what you could build as of right. I'm interested in the impacts of what you're proposing to build. And if for no other reason, you're building a wall that cannot be maintained without encroaching onto the neighbor's property, and I don't see how that can pass the desirability test.
Well, I do hear your point. Although if we go back to that image on page 4 of what I submitted, I really don't see a great deal of difference between what is being proposed and what is possible as of right. There is a slope to the roof. The portion of the 1-story addition that extends, or rather encroaches into the required rear yard setback, is not much higher than a fence would be. I personally don't see it as undesirable when a fence could be built there in very comparable conditions. And the plan is for wood siding on that side of the addition, so it's not aesthetically unappealing to the neighbor. I'm sure there could be conversations there to arrive at a nice finish that they like, although that's not a zoning matter. But again, I view this as quite a minor variance to permit a very small addition.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Barrett, have you had occasion to speak with the next door neighbors and provide some correspondence with respect to that? They seem to me to be most immediately impacted by the issues raised by staff.
I personally have not. I've advised our client that they should speak with their neighbors. I've been informed that they may have had some conversations about this in the past, and from what I've been told, they weren't particularly thrilled with any addition being built, so maybe those conversations didn't go any further, but I really can't speak any more to that because I don't have firsthand knowledge.
Thank you.
Further questions, items of clarification? So, go ahead, Mr. Dickey, go ahead.
Just wondering if thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering if I could ask a question to the town planner. It was stated, and I also agree this is not an accessory building, in the town's planning report seems to only say that the decimal 6 meter side yard setback is needed on an accessory building. Is that the case? I mean, is this an accessory building, and does that apply? You're not saying that he's missed a variant. I'm a little bit confused as to that particular matter.
Yeah, through Madam Chair, and thank you, Member Dickey, for the question. The staff report references an accessory structure in terms of providing covered amenity space. If you were to think of a gazebo of sorts, if there were walls, those end walls would need to be set back 0.6 meters from that interior side lot line, whereas right now it's proposed to be 0.
can be zero, you mean? It can be a zero side yard setback if it's considered part of an addition to the building. Is that correct?
Yeah, if it's an addition to the existing townhouse, the interior side yard setback only applies to the block of the townhouses. So as Mr. Barrett had outlined, the addition itself, notwithstanding the rear yard setback requirement, would be 0 meters. But again, anything in the form of an accessory building that would provide covered amenity space would be needed to be set back 0.6 meters from the side lot line, and that's where staff is coming from in terms of that space for separation from the property line.
So just one of well, if it wasn't for them coming forward and asking for a rear yard variance, they could build that sunroom, obviously shallower, on that property. It would appear that they could build that sunroom on that property. They wouldn't have to be concerned about this side yard setback.
Yeah, through Madam Chair, that's correct. As outlined in the staff report, we've identified where, and even in Mr. Barrett's materials, where the 6 meter setback would be taken to, where an addition could be built. But again, that's not what's being requested at this time, and staff do feel like there would be implications in terms of impacts on the abutting property with the 0 meter setback.
Just a little bit, maybe just a simple yes or no answer will do me. You're confusing me.
So, through
I think the answer is yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Barrett, piggybacking on Mr. Dickey, knowing this, that you could build an accessory structure, have your sunroom, everything, but abide by why haven't you, or what's deterring you from doing so?
Well, the client's goal is not to build an accessory structure. The client's goal is to build an addition, a 3-season sunroom that with access from an existing patio door at the rear of the home. And I've discussed this with the designer today and talked about this side yard setback because clearly it's a concern of town staff. And if we were to shift in the south wall of the proposed addition to create a setback between both properties, the most that could be done is 0.45 meters to maintain the ability to use the existing patio doors. If we were to create any more of a setback, the patio doors become unusable or quite expensive to replace. You have to put in rebuild a wall or something to that effect. This is not meant to be a massive project with a huge budget. So reusing those doors is important to the client. We figure if you were to move the 3-season sunroom in from the south lot line by 0.45 meters, which is what, 1.5 feet, we could extend it out on the other side without triggering another variance, but you would only have a 45 centimeter wide space between the south wall and the lot line. A fence would have to remain there. Or the fence that's existing, I suppose, would probably remain there. You'd simply be creating dead space for leaves and garbage and whatnot to accumulate. It wouldn't really be enough room to get in there to do any sort of maintenance. It would just be 1.5 feet of space with a fence in it along the south wall. So we discussed this as a possibility, and if that is the only way forward, then we would be open to approval of the rear yard setback variance, with the condition that the proposed addition be constructed with a 0.45 meter south side yard setback. Although I don't particularly see how that would address the concerns being raised about access for maintenance and so on. And the condition for the adjacent neighbor would be approximately the same.
But Mr. Barrett, it's not for me to say what's appropriate or not for your client. I understand that, but you've been in front of this committee before, knowing that the town was not supporting this. You could have had this conversation with town staff and seen if that's even a possible workaround. But having this discussion with us now, it just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, asking you that question and you knowing that it's a possibility and it's a possibility so that you can push the application forward, that doesn't sit well with me. I don't know about everyone else.
May I respond, Madam Chair?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I only received the staff report on Monday morning. I was out of the country, and as we all know, that's too late to submit any revised plans. I don't have the ability to submit any new drawings or anything for discussion with committee. This isn't like the old days in person when I could bring in copies of drawings and pass them out. Really, there wasn't any opportunity time-wise to make any changes at the 11th hour, except possibly verbally, as I'm doing now and offering it up as a potential solution with a condition of approval. Considering the tight timeline, this is the best I could do. I'm certainly not trying to pull one over on the committee. I've seen you guys far too often.
And what about deferring so that you can have that discussion with Mr. Hassan or whoever on the planning department?
Again, if deferring to achieve a 45 centimeter setback that creates dead space is the only solution, I'm not sure if it's a solution at all, respectfully.
Okay. Thank you for answering my questions. Any further comments, questions, or items of clarification? Yeah, I see your hand, Mr. Martinez. Let me just finish with the committee members if they have any further questions, and then I'll get to you. Thank you for your patience. Are there any other questions from the committee members? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Martinez. Just press *6, I believe, in order for you to unmute yourself or unmute yourself from the computer. I'm not sure which way you're in. It just shows that. There you go.
So can you hear me now?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
So can you give us your full name, address, so that we understand where you are situated?
My name is Hubert Martinez. I'm the neighbor for this project. I'm in 1128 West View Terrace. My neighbor is trying to do this sunroof in 1126 West View Terrace. So I submit a comment. However, my mistake, I submitted to the .com instead of .ca, and the comment never arrived to the committee. So I prefer. I don't know if you have time. My wife.
No, you have time. You have 5 minutes. You're welcome to speak to the committee if you so choose. So go ahead. You can read the letter. You can present it.
Yeah.
Whatever you wish.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'm just gonna point some of the most important aspects so that it doesn't take too long.
Sure.
But the main one is the impact and light consideration, because the proposed height of 4 meters for the sunroom raises concern about its impact on the visual aesthetics of the neighborhood. Such a towering structure may disrupt the harmonious skyline and distract from the character of our community. Additionally, the increased height could potentially obstruct natural light access to neighbors' properties, adversely affecting their living environment and overall well-being. The next one is proximity to neighboring property. Of particular concern is the proximity of the proposed sunroom to the neighborhood property. The backyard door from the neighbor's townhouse is only 60 centimeters or 0.6 meters away from the proposed structure. And such close proximity may raise privacy and noise concerns for both parties and should be carefully considered in the evaluation of the application. Potential property value loss, the construction of a sunroom that does not align with the aesthetic and characteristics of our townhouse community could potentially lead to a loss in property value for surrounding homes. And it's essential to consider long-term financial impact.
I discussed with my neighbor about the height. The proposed height is starting at 4 meters. This is a huge tower in front of my house, a huge tower. 4 meters is, I don't know why they start the proposal for 4 meters right now. I talked to him, and if you're right, I don't know if, let me see. I don't know if you can see it right now. This is the backyard beside my house right now. If the proposed sunroof start exactly in the here where the door is here and go down here, it shouldn't be too much impact. But the next proposed, which is this one, this is something like it's gonna be look like. It's a big tower right now in front of my house. So I don't know if this is really it's gonna impact too much to my visual and my life. Now, I talked to my neighbor. If this is something like this, I might be agree with that, but no more than 2 meters and 72 centimeters. Something like that, I can afford it, but no more than that, to be honest with you. So that also, there is another potential problem with the
maintenance that you also have talked about it, that, you know, how is that gonna affect and how is the maintenance gonna be done on this structure. And so I think we have some of the same concerns that the town is having about this project.
I don't think it's a minor project. It's a massive project in a townhouse. If it's a detached house, I understand that you guys can do it, but in townhouses, I've been driving around to the town to see one structure in a townhouse, and I haven't seen, to be honest, any town room in a townhouse right now. So thank you for your consideration. Appreciate it.
Sorry, we can't hear.
I can hear you. Sorry.
My mistake, I had myself on mute. I apologize. I said thank you for your submission. And committee members, any questions of Mr. and Mrs. Martinez? Okay, I see none. Very well. Comments, Mr. Barrett, with respect to the comments that the neighbor has made before we take it into committee? Oh, did you have something else to say? Hold on, sorry, I apologize. Did you have something else, Mr. Martinez? Because you're muted.
Yes, I would like to send these comments in writing to the committee. However, I tried to do it this morning, and the secretary said it's impossible this morning. But I think
that's fine, because all of this is recorded and it's on record, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you contact the secretary treasurer afterwards, we can provide you with the correct email so that you can send them if you want to. But
okay, thank you very much.
Everything you said is now on record, and it's video recorded for future reference, so you don't have to worry about it.
Just to add, we don't take any submissions after the meeting. Everything, like you say, is on record, but there's no submissions to go anywhere onto the file. I believe Mr. Martinez has been made aware of what happened, and we've heard, and hopefully the committee's heard all he has to say, but I just don't want him to misunderstand that if he sent something now, it's going to go into everything that was received before the meeting and sent to the committee members.
Oh, okay. No, I have to clarify. I apologize. That's my mistake. We've seen it, we've understood it. If they have any questions, they'll ask it right now. I just meant for him to have the correct email for his reference. Okay, Mr. Barrett, I apologize. Go ahead.
Thank you. Well, there are a couple issues that were raised that I can't really get into, such as impacts on property values or aesthetics generally. I do think the consideration of wood siding on that side of the addition helps to address aesthetics. This isn't going to be a cinder block wall or anything like that. The neighbors raised some concerns about noise and proximity of a door and so on, but I think that an enclosed space such as this proposed 3 seasons sunroom is likely better in terms of noise than a deck. As for maintenance, we've already discussed that. Not looking to go over that again. The concern about height was actually brought to my attention earlier today by the designer. I'm not sure when the neighbor had that conversation with the homeowner, but I believe it was quite recently. And we looked over the plans. Right now, the height at the highest point is 3.947 meters. As the roof slopes down, it goes down to just below 3 meters, 2.925. We chatted about it, and it would be possible to reduce this structure at its highest point down to 3.5 meters. It's not a variance, but if it would help address the neighbors' concerns, this is something that could be done. So drop it by half a meter at its highest point. So if that would help smooth things over, then that is something that our client is willing to do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Barrett. Any further questions or items of clarification before we take this matter into committee? All right, in your hands, who would like to move a motion and start the discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Tulowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I understand Mr. Barrett's position that he could build a 2-meter addition with no variance and have the same 0 side yard setback that staff and myself and the neighbors are concerned about. And if he were to do that, he would be able to, because of, but I think personally is a flaw in the zoning bylaw that with a house that's not built to the minimum setback, or a townhouse not built to the minimum setback, could actually have a 0 lot line with no ability to maintain it. But Mr. Barrett's not asking to do that. He's asking for a 2-meter variance, and he's effectively exasperating by doubling the potential concern with the 0 setback. So I don't know how that passes the desirable test, nor do I believe that it's the intent of the zoning bylaw to have such a decrease in the required rear yard setback. For those reasons, Madam Chair, I can't support this, and I'm going to recommend that the application be denied. I will reference the presentation in opposition from the neighbors that we heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tulowski. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll just take a quick moment to echo Mr. Tulowski's comments. I continue to be concerned and not have my concerns addressed or alleviated through the commentary here with respect to the setback of the proposed structure from the common property line, the impact on the abutting property owners, as well as the construction and maintenance issues that were noted. So I'll be supporting the motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? Right. All those in support of the denial? Okay. Your application has been denied.
Thanks a lot. Good night.
Good night.
Was it none opposed? I just want.
Good night.
None opposed, yes, none
Thank
opposed.
you.
Thank you. Good night, Mr. Martinez.
Okay, I'm just going to move Miss Yu into the meeting, and I'll let you know when that's been done. Miss Yu should be in the meeting now.
Yeah, you see her. Okay. Application CAV 057 of 2024 at 3083 Lakeshore Road West. Again, that's CAV 057 of 2024 at 3083 Lakeshore Road West.
I've moved the agent into.
If there's anyone in interest with this application, please call 905-815-6095, and staff will be standing by to take your call and provide you with further instructions to join the video conferencing. Go ahead, Mr. Zaki.
Hi, how are you? Good evening, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Mark Zekic, and this is my wife, Christina. We are the owners of the property at 3083 Lakeshore Road. We currently reside at 2070 Jaguar Lane in Oakville, and we are looking to build our new home at this property on Lakeshore. And we're just requesting minor variance to reduce the rear setback to 3 meters. So we can have a bit of a bigger side yard as opposed to a smaller side yard, and to increase the floor area of the house to accommodate for our family and for our future family for a 4-bedroom home. Originally, we wanted to have the driveway come off of Mississauga Street, but due to the on the PowerPoint presentation, you can see on slide 2 the big trees, those 3 big silver maples. We weren't allowed to take those trees down, so now we have to put the driveway from Lakeshore. So it kind of threw off our plans. So we're trying to move the house a little bit towards the west, so we can have a bit bigger yard and a bit further away from the gas station, which is located across the street. And those are the 2 variances we were looking for. Any questions? Yeah.
Questions, items of clarification? Please pronounce your name for me again.
It's Mark Zekic.
Zekic, okay, thank you. Any comments or items of clarification on Mr. Zekic? Okay. I'll give you a minute. Everyone seems to be looking at their screens. The square footage that you're requiring is a little over 500 square feet in terms of additional space. Can you tell us where you're using that additional square footage?
I do work from home quite a bit, so I made myself an office on the main floor there, and just to have 4 bedrooms on the 2nd floor. So to fit everything into that allowable percentage that we're allowed is kind of tough to fit all that into that space. Yeah, we're just.
Ms. Yu, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to ask the agent if they have communicated with the city staff, the town staff regarding the town staff's comments on this file.
Sorry?
Have you? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead, please.
Have you had a chance to communicate with town staff regarding their comments about your file? Because they are not in support, and you. Okay. Reason why?
Reason why? I didn't know they were.
Did you receive the comments?
I did. I read it, but it didn't say it wasn't in support. I misread it, or I didn't. Yeah, I read it for sure, but I didn't think that they weren't in support of it.
Oh, they have an objection next to each variance. They object to both variances. Both to the reduced yard setback because it reduces your amenity space, and to your residential floor area.
It's on that email there. It says they reject it. I can't see that. Where here?
Over there. Click on here.
Comments. Yeah, that's where I am now. Where does it exactly say they rejected it? I can't see it.
it's not a rejection, it's just the comments from staff state their concerns, and those are the kinds of questions that the committee staff will ask you. If you considered these objections and why you're applying for these variances.
Well, yeah.
And does anyone else have any comments or questions? No, go ahead, Mr.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the reason we're applying for these variances is because we're making it like a fairly large investment, and we want to make it for us, and this is our future home. So, obviously, if we can make it a bit bigger and more comfortable for us, and it definitely suits the area. It's right on Lakeshore. It's
gas station.
There's it's just to better that area. It's not like it's going to be an eyesore or a nice looking house. It's going to benefit the area.
No, listen, everyone who wants to buy a home wants to build bigger, better. That's the story of our actual committee. So that's not really typically the reasons that we're looking. I can understand that you want to push the house back a little bit further because you don't want to be in front of the gas station. You want to have some more trees. I understand your reasoning for that, but just because you want to make the house bigger, there's a reason for the bylaws. I mean, it's not because you want to. You know what I mean? Like, this is the reason we're asking these questions.
Adjustments to ask for permission.
It's also not to guarantee that you get.
I totally understand. I was told for sure it wasn't a guarantee. I totally understand. But we're here to plead our case. It's a very large investment, and then to build a smaller house. Like we're already in Oakville. Our house it's a fairly decent size in Oakville. It's already 2,800 square feet. We want something a bit bigger. So that's what we're hoping to build on this property.
And what's the total square footage of your house that you're proposing right now?
It's almost 31. I think 33,050.
All right. Further questions from committee members or items of clarification? Okay, I see none. Let's take the matter into committee. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Ms. Yu.
Thank you. So based on my review of this application and after hearing the presentation done by the owner and the agent, and combination of the review staff report. So in my opinion, this application cannot be considered as like minor in nature. I can see the potential impacts to the entire neighborhood, and besides, the owner or the agent hasn't got chance to communicate with the staff regarding the concerns in the comment in the comments. So, in my opinion, I would say this application is not considered as minor in nature. As such, I cannot support this application. So I like to move a motion forward to reject this application, and I would suggest the owner and the applicant go back to the town staff and communicate with the staff regarding the concerns and the comments. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Yu. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? Mr. Talowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'm going to support that motion. My most significant concern here is the 3-meter rear yard setback being insensitive to the neighboring property to the west, and just not creating a desirable situation or appropriate separation in that instance.
It's a 3-meter.
It's 3 meter, yeah.
Mr. Legge, we're in committee now.
Sorry.
It's our discussion.
Got it. Sorry.
If you'd be kind enough to just mute
Yeah.
yourself for
Sorry.
now. Okay. Mr. Talowski. Are you done? Any further comments? Okay, were you aware, Mr. Legge, that you could have taken a deferral and gone to speak to town staff to figure out a way where you can work within the bylaws?
Was not aware of the deferral, no.
Sorry, this is our first time. We're not aware of the deferral and going through the process for our first time. So thank you for your patience.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. This is the second time this evening, and I want to be fair to you. The motion before us is to deny the application. So I'm going to have to hear the motion out, but just for your reference, your application, once you make it and you get the comments from town staff, you're able to contact them and figure out a way where you can work within the bylaws. It's not just because I want bigger or I want a home office or whatever. There is certain ways where you can actually do that in it, and I understand and respect that it is your first time applying to do so. But just so you know, Mr. Towski, you had something to say? No, okay. The motion before us is to deny the application. All those in support? Okay. All right. The application has been denied. I have abstained. So you'll have to come back and discuss with the town and see where you can go from there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, CAV 058 of 2024 at 180 Sandwell Drive. Application CAV 058 of 2024 at 180 Sandwell Drive.
I can't imagine what
I've moved the agent into the meeting.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm Matthew Frederick Angeli, the agent of the owner, address 107 Gladstone Avenue in Hamilton, Ontario.
Good evening, Mr. Frederick Angeli. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, tonight we have a fairly simple matter before you. We're requesting an increase in lot coverage to add an accessory structure in the rear yard. We do meet the height and setback requirements, and we are clear of the easement in the rear yard. The increase is 2.4%. Generally in this area, we do see pools and cabana structures along this stretch of Sandwell. We do think we're meeting the existing character of the neighborhood. We're not increasing mass of the dwelling specifically. This is the intent of the lot coverage bylaws to limit overmassing of the dwelling. This is a smaller accessory structure in the rear yard, so we are meeting the general intent of the zoning bylaw. We would agree with staff on that. And we do not think we're creating any undue adverse impacts to adjoining properties. Again, fairly typical to the area, pretty sensitive small structure. So we would agree with town staff that we are meeting the 4 test. We did see that there were some comments from Halton Region about the regional natural heritage system. We did already reach out to them. We're happy with this condition to work with them. We do believe that this small structure would be waived using their waiving assessment tool. So I'd defer to the committee for any questions around the proposal.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or items of clarifications of the agent? Okay, I see none. We'll move into the committee for a motion. Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having undertaken a site visit, having reviewed the materials, including the written staff report, and having heard the presentation of the applicant, I'm satisfied that the requested variance conforms to the four tests of the Act. I'll put forward a motion of approval accordingly. That motion of approval would be subject to conditions, those being that the accessory building be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan and elevation drawings dated February 23rd, 2024, and that the approval expires within 2 years of the date of the decision if a permit has not been issued. I would note that there were no members of the public present with respect to this matter.
Can I?
Thank you, Mr. Hardcastle. Sorry.
I just would like to clarify that the agent did refer to a condition requested by the region, and I just want to make sure we're not including that. It was not included in the planning report, but the agent did bring it up, so I just want to make sure that the committee is not going to be including that additional condition that was requested by the region.
It was not my intention to include that condition this time.
Oh, perfect. I just wanted to have clarification. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the two standard conditions that were listed, with that in perspective, all those in support of. Okay, the application has been approved.
Thank you, Madam Chair and committee members.
Good evening. CV 059 of 2024 at 372 Bronte Road. There's a request at 10 by Joey Parent. Again, this is CAV 059 of 372 Bronte Road. I have Mr. Galvez as the agent.
I've moved the agent into the meeting.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Sergio Galvez, 2030 Bristol Circle in Oakville, Ontario. I'll just proceed with my presentation. Thank you for this opportunity. This project at 372 Bronte Road, we are proposing to replace an existing two-story dwelling that is 1,636 square feet in building area with a new two-story dwelling that would be 2,633 square feet in building area. As you see in slide 1, the client didn't want to have a modern international style home, but rather a more timeless classic design known as the Georgian style. So it features brick, it'll have limestone features, which a lot of this, the features like the limestone around the windows, the columns, and the frieze really serve to actually break up the mass. Instead of having just a one finish, it'll just help break up the bays and the walls, and even the whole frieze detail going across horizontally really breaks down the scale. We wanted to have a 7-foot wide entry porch. It's only 5 feet deep. And above that porch, we wanted to add a little more limestone detailing for a focal point. So it's not a porch up above, it's simply a limestone clad detail. The main roof line will only be 21 feet to the underside of soffit. The existing house, the one that's there currently, the height to underside of soffit is 18 feet 4. So it is about 2 feet extra. We do want to note, however, that the neighboring house, 368, the underside of soffit there is about 23 feet. So we are still 2 feet lower than that one. We are positioning the house using front yard averaging between the two, which will work out to be about 2 feet forward from the existing garage. That said, that means that that newer, bigger dwelling, 368, will still sit proud about 8 feet. We are seeking one minor variance for an increase in residential floor area. Whereas we are permitted 40%, we are asking for 45.6. So that 5.6 does equate to 503 square feet. So although permitted on that lot would be 3,531, we are hoping and proposing for a house that is 4,034 square feet in RFA. Of course, we did meet with some objection. Slide 2 and 3, please. This, of course, the house is in the middle, the subject property. To the left of this, on this side of the slide, there's the newer home. It doesn't have an RFA requirement, so it is larger, and then to the right is the existing homes. If you can go to slide 3, please. We can see number 368 really is dwarfing the other homes next to it. Our home will not be as wide or as tall as that new home. But the purpose of the next two slides, slide number 4 and 5, if you please, is we want to suggest that, and we view that this proposed design is actually compatible with the homes next to it. So there are 12 homes north of 372. The first 6 on the top row is showing the immediate 6 homes right next to it. And what gives it the massing is really just a garage that's protruding proud of the main wall of the house. And then the next 6 homes after that, well, really, actually, it's similar in style, we believe, to 372, where it's not drastic or dramatic wall setbacks, but really just a wider home, 2-car garage, small offsets in the wall, red brick, which is what we're presenting. And then please go to slide 5. And then here's the last 3 homes on that same side that we're on, is again showing a house or styles that's similar to what we believe is 372. We feel and believe that the design of the home in slide 1 is compatible with the surrounding area, that it maintains and protects the existing neighborhood character, which we believe is also helped with a classic Georgian style home. We believe the home is compatible in scale, in height, and in massing on the same street, especially on the last 6 homes there in Bronte, and even the immediate ones around it. It's not a big, it's not a large change in scale. We know planning did comment that it would, the request is of a magnitude, or that it would propose negative impacts. But again, we're not seeing that the negative impacts. The 5%, yes, is a 500 square foot ask, but in terms of the design or scaling of the front wall, we believe it meets those 4 points in the planning. We believe that we only requested 1 minor variance, shows that we are agreeable with the zoning requirements and planning guidelines. And we believe this home would actually contribute to the beauty and streetscape of Bronte. That concludes my presentation.
Questions or items of clarification of Mr. Galvez? Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I have a couple of questions here. I'm sorry, they're just forming out in my head right now. In the applicant's presentation, I did not hear any conversation. Like I heard commentary about the the additional size above the permitted RFA. But I didn't hear any commentary in response to the staff report that spoke to the open to below area, which tends to contribute to the massing of the building, or efforts that were undertaken to mitigate the additional size and massing. Would the applicant care to speak to some of those kinds of thoughts?
Happy to. Yes, they did comment that in the back of the home, above the great room or family room, there was an open to above. The room is about 18 feet or 16 feet, sorry, by 20 feet. And the proposal is to have a 2-story ceiling. It's not a radical design. And yes, that does, of course, contribute to some massing toward the back of the home, which is not really seen from the street, which and then to the rear yard, there's really no way to see that rear elevation. But yeah, we were proposing to have a nice 2-story volume in the back that's about 16 feet by 20 feet.
Thank you. I have one additional question. You referenced some other buildings, and I'm sorry if you did speak to this, I missed it. Did any of those other dwellings along this stretch of Bronte have minor variances for size?
No, there actually is none on that exact same side as us. There was no minor variance required for the new home to the south of 372. That one, we have the 0 designation, so we have to meet that 40%. Whereas just south of our property line, there is no requirement for RFA.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that for me.
Any other questions, items of clarification? Okay, I see none. Mr. Parent, you have chosen to attend. Did you want to speak to the committee?
Yes, please, Madam Chair. Hello, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Joey Parent. I'm the registered owner of 376 Bronte Road, and I'm calling in to express my concerns about the proposed build next door at 372 Bronte Road. The scale of the original home, as per original site data, suggests a residential floor area of 22.7%, and the proposed build requires a residential area of 45.6%, which exceeds the maximum allowance by 5.6. It appears this does not include an additional 320 square feet regarding the open to below area mentioned in the drawings. I'm not sure if that's included or not, but I just wanted to mention that. This represents a doubling of the existing residential floor space and exceeds the size of existing homes on the street. The implications of this variance, overage, and several other design elements are significant and raise several concerns. To start, the proposed plan results in a loss of natural light and privacy across all of our south-facing windows. The mass and scale of the home will lead to a substantial reduction in natural light within many of our primary living areas. Specifically, the dining room window, the second largest on our main floor, and our kitchen window, which serve as vital sources of sunlight throughout the day. It's important to note that the dining room window also serves as a primary source of natural light to our main foyer. Moreover, the proposed build raises significant concerns over privacy, as it includes multiple north-facing windows that face directly into our dining room, main foyer, and most importantly, into a bedroom. We have lived here for close to 10 years, and the considerable expansion in square footage, along with the overshadowing of our primary windows, jeopardizes the reasonable enjoyment of our property. Additionally, the deviation of the proposed construction from the typical home footprint in the neighborhood could establish a precedent that changes the natural green space and character of the area. We feel that this plan does not align with the goal of maintaining, protecting, and enhancing the residential area's character as specified in the official plan for low-density residential zones. In addition, the existing row of hedges along our property line provides long-established privacy, habitats for wildlife, greenery, and prevention of soil erosion, as our property sits at a higher grade. The proposed build extends further and taller into the backyard and threatens to shade parts of this natural barrier, impacting its health. These hedges have been maintained for close to 30 years and continue to provide privacy and greenery to the space. Regrettably, the proposed plans make no mention of these hedges. Lastly, the addition of a covered porch, basement walk-up, and an in-ground pool raises concerns about the potential damage to the roots of existing mature trees. These trees play a crucial role in preventing soil erosion, and according to the Conservation Halton Regulation Limit Map, it appears that a significant portion of the existing backyard falls within the stable top of bank hazard zone. This designation indicates the sensitivity of the area to alterations and underscores the need for careful consideration. I sincerely hope the committee will consider these concerns and evaluate the proposed build thoroughly. Your attention to these matters is greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Are there any questions or items of clarification of Mr. Parent? Okay, I see none. Okay, Mr. Tlosky, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just hoping the speaker, the neighbor, could clarify. So the windows on your house that you're referring to, they face your side property line? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. The windows are south facing, and yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, go ahead, Mr. Calvas, you can respond.
Thank you. Yes, so the back of the home will be about 2 feet 8 further from the back of his home in this proposed design. That is to the main second floor walls. Then we do have a 10-foot dining, like a 1-story dining addition that is even further set back by 2 feet. But it is, yeah, the house, the rear addition part or the rear expansion part is 2 feet 8 further from his. Currently, the home will be about 3.3 meters from his home. We do have Conservation Halton's approval on these plans. That had to be done before we could actually submit to minor variance. Conservation Halton approved the location of the pool, the location of the covered porch, the dining addition portion, and of course where the main wall of the back of the house is. There is a walk-up feature, that's true. It's on the opposite end of the property line or property from number 376. There are 3 windows in terms of where they are. He said there was a number of windows, there's only 3. There's a small pantry window on the main floor. That's it for windows. And then there's a small ensuite window and a small and another smaller ensuite window as well on the second floor. Yes, facing the north side or for his south facing wall.
Okay. Any other questions, items of clarification, Mr. Galvez? Okay, I'm ready for a motion. Who would like to move a motion? Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Based upon my review of the owner's application, the site plan and building elevation, my site visit, together with the presentation by the owner's consultant and the planning report, planning staff's report and their comments, together also I recognize the comments by the neighbor. It's my opinion this proposal does not meet the Board Test Planning Act, and I therefore make a motion to be denied. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? Go ahead, Mr. Tlosky.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I find myself perhaps oddly not being able to support the motion to deny. I found the applicant's presentation rather compelling, and in context, I do believe that this application fits the character of the neighborhood. And while the neighbor had listed a number of concerns, I don't believe the variances being requested are what's causing those concerns. So I'm not going to support the motion to deny.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Telesky. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I feel a little bit like I'm following the leader here today. I'm actually on board with the comments that Mr. Tulowski had raised. I found the conversation about the change in zone category, or the difference in zone category to be compelling to address some of my concerns, in addition to Mr. Tulowski's comments with respect to the variance being requested and the impacts being seen by the abutting property owner. So likewise, I'm not going to be supporting the motion on the floor.
Okay, thank you for your comments. If there are no further comments, the motion before us is to deny the application is before us. All those in support? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, so the motion has failed. We'll entertain another motion. Go ahead, Mr. Tulowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, for the reasons I've expressed, I do believe that this application meets the four tests of the Planning Act. In the context of which it's in and the design, I believe it is compatible with the neighborhood. I would note that we heard from the neighbor to the north who was in opposition, but as I said, I'm not convinced that the variance being requested here is what's the cause of the neighbor's concerns. Chair, you'll have to bear with me on the conditions, but I would make that approval subject to two conditions: that Wellman proceed in general accordance with the site plan and elevations. A site plan dated March 6, 2024. Elevations of the same date, and second condition that the variance expires if a permit hasn't issued within 2 years.
Okay, is there discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, your application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, committee.
Application CAV 060 of 2024 at 1360 Lakeshore Road West. Again, it's CAV 060 of 2024 at 1360 Lakeshore Road West. I have Mr. Giordano as the agent.
I have moved the agent into the meeting.
Good evening, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Let me just start my video. Okay, perfect. Madam Chair, committee members, Peter Giordano, David Small Designs, 1405 Cornwall Road in Oakville. We're the project designers and the authorized agents. Can I ask the moderator to advance to slide number 4, please? Perfect, thank you right there. We're here today requesting your consideration on one variance item. We're proposing to demolish the existing one-story building. We would be removing the ground floor, but retaining the basement foundation walls and the garage walls, then rebuilding the ground floor with a second floor above. Next slide, please. This right side elevation that you see on the screen, that's an existing non-conforming wall location. And we're proposing a second floor addition that aligns with it above. We're asking for permission to maintain the existing setback of 2.44, where 4.2 is required. Our client spoke to the neighbors and their response was supportive. The neighbor on the right side, where the variance is being requested, is in the process of completing his own renovation, where his east side yard maintains an existing setback of 2.46. Almost exactly what ours is. My presentation includes these 3D elevations of all of the side elevations, rear elevation, to assist you in understanding our proposal for this application. Staff reports are in support or have expressed no concerns. Building height and all remaining zoning requirements are in full compliance. In conclusion, we believe our application to be appropriate, represent good planning, and pass the 4 tests of Section 45 of the Planning Act. Thank you for your patience. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer them.
Questions, items of clarification. Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just noticed that in the document, it seems to say the variance is for a second story addition and alterations. Your agent, you said you're going to demolish the house. Am I mixing up here? Did I hear things wrong?
We're removing most, through you, Madam Chair, we're removing most of the ground floor. We're retaining the garage. We're retaining the full basement and foundation. So we're building on top of the existing foundation walls, garage walls. And then we're rebuilding the ground floor over top of the existing walls. And that new portion of the second floor is all proposed to be new.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, I see none. We'll take the matter into committee. Who like to move a motion? Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having undertaken my site visit, having reviewed the materials, including the written staff report, and having heard the presentation from the agent for the owner, I'm satisfied that the requested variance conforms to the 4 tests of the Act and will have minimal impact on the abutting properties in the established area. Accordingly, I'll put forward a motion of approval. That would be subject to 2 conditions, those being that the proposed addition and alterations be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan. Revision number 2 dated October 30th, 2023, and elevation drawings, revision 1 dated October 6th, 2023, and the approval will expire within 2 years of the date of the decision if a permit has not been issued.
Very well. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay. Your application has been approved. None opposed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee, enjoy the rest of the evening.
You too. Okay. Application CAV 164 of 2023 deferred from November the 29th of 2023 at 2423 Sylvia Drive. Again, this is application CAV 164 of 2023 deferred from November the 29th at November the 29th, 2023 at 2423 Sylvia Drive. Mr. Igor Lukak, or Luca available as the agent?
I've moved the agent into the meeting.
Hello. Can you guys
Good
hear me
evening.
okay? Hey,
Yes,
good
we can
evening.
hear you.
Thank you
Good
very
evening.
much. Hello, committee members and Madam Chair. This is for the project that we discussed in late November. The city or the planning department requested a deferral to review some additional information. Based on their feedback, we implemented the requested changes, and they said that they would support the application for minor variance for a requested encroachment into the rear yard setback. So the allowable is 1.5 meters, and we were requesting 2.18 meters of encroachment into the setback. The main difference from the first application to now is the addition of a privacy screen, as well as moving back the railing and adding planters. So this, in effect, does two things. It ensures additional privacy and prevents overlook, which are the two primary concerns of a rear yard setback. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions, items of clarification. Go ahead, Mr. Dickey.
Just puzzled by this proposal to build a guardrail. The planters will lie within the setback. What's the point of that? Why don't you just reduce the depth of your deck?
Very astute. The sole reason for that is that the deck has already been built and the foundations poured.
Good to know. Oh, wow. Okay, let me think. Go ahead. Thank you.
Good question.
Any other questions, items of clarification? Okay, Mr. Dickey, if you have no further questions, I'll take the matter to committee.
No, I'll deal with it. Thank you.
Okay, who would like to move a motion? Is that your hand, Miss Hugh? Go ahead. I can never tell with you. You almost have to go like this to me.
Yeah, thank you for letting me know. According to my review of the application materials and having heard the presentation done by the agent, in my opinion, this application can be considered as minor in nature, and I'd like to move the motion forward to approve this minor variance, subject to the standard conditions. The rear deck addition be constructed in general accordance with the submitted site plan, elevation joint, and the second floor layout drawings dated March 1st, 2024. The approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction.
Thank you, Ms. Hugh. Discussion on our recommendation. Mr. Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just thought I'd advise that I will not be supporting this motion. I feel that this deck is that relative to the people behind it, it's on the second story. Relative to the house itself, I recognize it's on the ground floor. The situation is it's elevated. I didn't see the exact height above ground, but I'm assuming it's 8 or 9 feet above the elevation of the rear yard. It overlooks the houses to the rear, and by increasing the size of the allowable deck, means more people can be there, more noise can be happening at any point in time, and it infringes on neighbors' privacy. neighbors to the adjacent to the side, the north and south, and the neighbor to the rear. I would be not voting to approve this. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dickey. Any further discussions? Okay, I see none. All those in support of the approval? Okay. All those in opposed? Okay, the application has been approved.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Likewise.
Application CAV 020 of 2024, deferred from February the 7th of 2024. 2351 Falling Green Drive. Again, it's application CAV 020 of 2024, deferred from February the 7th at 2351 Falling Green Drive.
I've moved the agent into the meeting.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Who are we speaking with?
Hi, good evening. This is Jimin Kwan from Red Oak Pro Consulting, here to represent Mr. Sashi Haran regarding the concern on the pool setback at property 2351 Falling Green Drive. The application number is CIV 020-2024. Could you please move the slide to page 2? Okay, so the swimming pool in the backyard of 2351 Falling Green Drive was built with a 1.22 meter setback instead of the 1.5 meter setback. And in result of a misinterpretation by the contractor, and I am here to help the owner resolve his concern. Could you move the slide to page 3, please? We do note that in the aspect of drainage, safety, and accessibility, the provided setback is adequate. Since there is no residential adjacent to the property, and instead there is an open space. Could you move the page to 4, please? Thank you. In terms of case studies, we found there is one property along the same street where pool seem to be pretty close to the property line. And as well, if you've taken that into consideration. Page 5, please. With that being said, we do believe our application is minor in nature, and we also noted that there were no easement concerns from the fire department, transit, and utility firms. We do wish to mention also that we made some alterations to the grading plan to ensure the water drainage, and there were no trees being affected as per the survey as well. If any concerns or further comments, please share with us.
Any questions or items of clarification from Ms. Kwan? Okay, I see none. Ready for a motion then? Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having undertaken my site visit, having reviewed the materials, including the written staff report, and having heard the presentation from the agent, I am satisfied that the requested variance conforms to the test of the act, and I'll put forward a motion of approval, finding that the setback will have no negative impacts on adjacent properties. I would make that motion subject to conditions, those being that the existing in-ground pool be permitted in general accordance with the submitted site plan drawing dated September 6, 2023, and that the approval will expire within 2 years of the date of the decision if a pool permit has not been issued. Thank you.
Very well. All those in support of the approval? Okay, and I will abstain. Your application has been approved.
Much appreciated.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
Confirmation of minutes for March the 20th. Mr. Hardcastle, thank you. And motion to adjourn. Mr. Hardcastle, thank you. We are adjourned at 8:48. Madam Secretary.